Hello, everyone. It's Nicole McIntosh here for Good News Jamaica. And I'm so excited because we're here for one of our mobile reasonings. And I have the lovely Abigail Kelly with me. And Abigail is a soprano, and she'll tell us all about that. But I am honored to have her here. And we're in the UK, so we're representing for the diaspora. And as you know, we are celebrating everything Jamaican. So, without further ado, Abigail, welcome. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you.
You're welcome. So, what we're doing with Good News Jamaica, as I said, is we're celebrating everything positive about Jamaica. And I hear you have a Jamaican connection. So, we'll get onto that later. But I wanted to start by just saying, tell us a little bit about you and what you do, and then we can find out how the Jamaican connection came in.
Sure. Well, I am an opera singer. I'm also a singing teacher and a workshop leader as well. And I teach people various types of singing from jazz to musical theatre from various ages. I think my youngest pupil is about 5 years old. My oldest pupil is older than my parents. So that's what I do. That's one half of what I do. And then the other half of what I do, like I said, I'm a soprano, I'm an opera singer. I travel around the country, sometimes around the world, and I perform with orchestras or with other singers, with pianists, performing in recitals and concerts and operas. At the moment, not so much, but I have been able to do a few things online at the moment, which has been wonderful, really, really lovely.
Wow, it's wonderful. So, how has the lockdown affected you? You mentioned that you're not able to perform as much as before. So, you've been doing what, virtual concerts?
Well, at the moment, what I've been doing is all of my teaching I've been doing via online platforms, but I've also been doing some recordings that I have been putting online on YouTube as well. So performing has been going on, albeit virtually. And then there was this little golden patch of time in the UK in about October when we were sort of musicians were slightly let out of their boxes and were able to actually interact with other musicians and actually perform
Wow.
together. So I was able to do some wonderful recordings with the London Symphony Orchestra and with English Touring Opera and with Birmingham Opera Company as well. We did these performances outside in the parks in Birmingham, and unfortunately, it's all kind of closed back in again. But what's amazed me for this whole period of time is the resilience of people who want to create art and who want to share art with everybody.
Oh, it's amazing. It is wonderful to see. And, it has shown us that we really need to be working together and the power of the art industry, creative industries in terms of mental health and coping and wellness as well. So I want to go back a little bit and I want you to tell me what's your connection to Jamaica? And then we'll go on to how you became the soprano singer.
Sure. My connection with Jamaica is a long, wonderful one. My parents are Jamaican. My ancestors are Jamaican. My
Which parish?
father,
Which
uh,
parish?
oh, St. Catherine. You're gonna have to check me for my geography now. So a bit of an all over the place. My dad is from St. Thomas. I think my
Lovely.
mom is from St. Catherine originally. Um, but they've family wise, I've got family in Lucy, in
Wow.
Mobay, in Negril. I've got family in Kingston, Spanish Town, still in St.
All
Thomas,
over.
all over the place, all over the place. So whenever I do go back, it's lots of journeys to country, as it were. The last time I was there, I went just a little visit with my mom a couple of Christmases ago, and we were very impressed by the Knutsford Express and the new expressway and the highway, and it's just beautiful to see such a development happening in the country. It's
Yes.
wonderful. So yes, that's my connection with Jamaica. And as I say, I've pretty much grown up with a very, very strong understanding of my Jamaican background and my Jamaican heritage. So much so that when I perform in concerts and when I do my own recitals and when I do workshops actually for people, I sing Jamaican folk songs and I teach others Jamaican folk songs too. So I'm really proud of my heritage and the wonderful things that come out of Jamaica.
I've been watching your performances, and I got goosebumps when I heard you perform some Jamaican music. I was so proud because, growing up in Jamaica, I never knew anyone who could sing opera. And to then hear Jamaican songs that I grew up hearing in that format, it was empowering for me because it made me realize that actually we Jamaicanness transcends all borders, all boundaries. And I think, seeing people who look like us in these kind of industries, it's amazing and it sends a positive message to the youth. So tell me, how did you become an opera singer?
Well, my mum would say that she knew from a very early age because when I was a little girl and she used to chase me around the house, we used to play run around, I would scream, these high notes would come out of my voice. And she said that from then she knew exactly there was this thing in my voice, and she'd go, "This is interesting." Um,
Lovely.
and then my parents, they very much wanted me to have very many experiences growing up. So when I was a little girl, I started playing the piano when I was about 4 years old, which is quite young. And I went on to play the violin as well. And I sang in my local church choir. I went to a local little dance school. So every year I'd go on stage and do dancing shows. And from that, really, from that exposure to music and theatre and the stage, I developed an absolute love of performance way
Yes.
before I developed a love for opera in particular. It was a
Ah,
bit later on when I was figuring out what I wanted to do with my life. I originally wanted to go into genetic research, and I realized that I
wow.
didn't. Yes, I realized that I couldn't do it because I'd always be wondering if I had missed an opportunity.
Yes.
So we took the plunge as a family. My headmistress at the time supported me. She got my family on board. My parents supported me, and I went to Birmingham Conservatoire, which is a music college in Birmingham, which is where I am at now. Birmingham, born and bred and raised and studied
Lovely.
and still living. Very Birmingham girl. And I studied there, and while I was there I was exposed to even more beautiful music. I'd already been exposed to the glorious music of sort of the Church of England anthems, that sort of Renaissance all the way through to Baroque and the classical era. And then I discovered opera while I was there, and I loved the challenge of how to sing that music and how you had to train your voice so much to be able to perform to that standard. And from there, really, I've just continued studying, went to the Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama, as it was called back in the day. And then I continue to study now. I have a teacher who I have lessons with via the internet now
Really?
as well. Yeah.
Oh my
So it's a
goodness.
big cycle, a big circle.
Wow. So what were some of the challenges that you had to overcome when you decided that actually this is what I want to do? You started playing the piano when you were 4. When you decided actually this is what I want to do and you started going at it, did you get a scholarship? How did it go in terms of funding for your education?
Well, for my education, I did get a scholarship. Actually, I went for a scholarship audition for Birmingham Conservatoire and I got a scholarship, and that was
Love.
wonderful.
Yes.
I actually, in the audition, I auditioned for the person who was then going to become my singing teacher for the whole of my 4-year course there, a wonderful soprano called Maureen Brathwaite, who's from Trinidad. And
Wow.
yeah, and it was one of those moments when I stepped into Birmingham. Birmingham is a very, if your listeners know, Birmingham is a very, very multicultural city in the
Yes.
UK. and I stepped into Birmingham Conservatoire, and it felt like fame and all of that. And I stepped into this audition, and I saw this woman who looked like me sitting on the other side of the panel. And that, first of all, I was like, oh my gosh, this is wonderful. This is the place I need to be. And then I got through. I got a scholarship. She requested that she taught me as a singing teacher, which was wonderful. So I had 4 years with her guidance and her wisdom about what it's like to be a Black female in the operatic industry as well. And yeah, that was mainly the path. I then went and auditioned for very many other music colleges after the undergraduate degree and got into the Scottish for another year. And then from that point onwards, I auditioned the route that you go down, or the preferred route, which I kind of, now having gone through it, don't necessarily hold too much to it. The preferred route of it is to, then you do a postgrad, then you do a master's, then you go to opera school, then you go on to a young artist program. And I stopped at the postgraduate degree bit. I did my postgraduate degree, and then I went to work. And then I realized that I can make my own study. I can, find scholarships from elsewhere, find people that I want to train with, whether or not I'm at an academy or not, learn on the job, understand what it's like to actually be a jobbing artist, and gain experience that way. Talk to people, ask people, for mentoring. So I saved a lot of money by not doing a master's degree, so that was good. And I started establishing my career literally straight out of music college, and it's really, I think it's really held me in good stead.
And your point about people sometimes have rigid ways of looking at things, that you must do this, you must do that, and you're proof that actually you don't have to. We're individuals, and we have to do what works for us. And as you say, walking into that audition and seeing someone who is of diverse panel, representation matters, because the confidence that gave you in terms of, yes, I can do this, very, very important.
So important.
Yeah. So, in terms of what you do, I'm really impressed that you find time to be a jobbing musician, as you say. You're at the top of your field. I would say you're at the top. And I want the world to, yeah, you're getting there. You will get there. And I'll say, actually, I met her and she's lovely. But what I want, how do you find time to do it both? Because you have to pay the bills, you have to live, you're touring the world. Before pandemic, you're touring the world, but then you still find time to give back. That really says to me that you have the values of, kindness and compassion, that you are also looking to make sure that you represent and that others are following your footsteps. So how do you balance that?
It sometimes is a very tricky balance. I don't believe in star signs too much. I'm a Libran, and Librans are all about balance, and I think Librans are all about not finding balance. So it's this, our symbol is are the scales, and for me, unfortunately, I'm either in very, very sort of heavy work mode, or I'm resting. It's one or the other. And sometimes I get to a point where work mode just really kind of takes over, so much so that I have to then really, really flip it back the other way. But on a general, even day-to-day basis, I will, for example, I will have a singing lesson that I will give to somebody. Oh dear. Oh, sorry, I disappeared for a second there. I will have a moment where I will be giving a singing lesson to somebody, and then I will be having a singing lesson myself. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm taking care of somebody else's voice, but then still taking care of my voice as well. And it's like I said, by taking care of my voice, I'm also taking care of other people's voices. Also, I love what I do, so, and I'm very fortunate in that the element of teaching music is actually, I'm not going to say it's lucrative. It's not lucrative. I work very hard. I work very long hours. But the element of being a music teacher, a singing teacher, is such, especially now during a pandemic, when thank goodness it can continue and can go online.
Yes.
There will be huge swathes of time where I am not a gigging musician necessarily. I am in Birmingham. I'm teaching at the 3 schools that I teach at. I'm teaching my individual private pupils, and I'm just, that's it. I'm learning music. I'm keeping an ear out for auditions, but my balance is very much, sometimes I'm a singing teacher, sometimes I'm more of a performer who goes out there and tours and goes around the world. And yeah, finding balance is hard. It's something that I strive to achieve.
What do you do to relax? What do you like to do?
Oh, do you know, I love singing so much that when I relax, I end up singing karaoke singing. So
Oh, that's lovely.
I don't stop singing. I never stop singing. That's the funniest thing about it. So I used to go out to sing karaoke and sing all the things that I would never sing normally. And now I've been trying to find all the karaoke songs on apps and things like that to do in the house instead. But right now, something that I love doing is I go out for walks in nature, in the sort of in between bit of the pandemic, when we were allowed further out of our local areas. I find lots of the beautiful hills and valleys and reservoirs and lakes in the Midlands, actually, and not far from where I live, to go and walk around. So I've been really enjoying getting to connect with nature and go trudging in the mud and walking up hills. So that's what I do to rest as well and just clear my mind.
Yes, and being in this pandemic has given us all a chance to kind of have some time for that, some introspection as well,
Oh,
being
yes.
important. So what's the next move for you? Where do you see yourself in 5, 10 years? What's the next, what's the big thing for 21 and beyond?
Well, personally, the biggest thing for 2021 would be to finally be able to get married. That would be
Lovely.
great.
Oh,
Our wedding was cancelled last year and postponed a year. So being able to do that would be wonderful this year. We'll see. We'll see if it
fingers
happens when
crossed.
it's meant
Fingers
to.
crossed.
Whatever
Definitely.
happens before the 31st of December 2021, I will be a married woman. So that's my first goal for this year. And then I think for the rest of this year, I think just building on what I've done, building on what I've learned about myself actually as an artist during these times, and
Yes.
realizing that there's a whole new world of internet that I've never considered before as a performer. So looking into those avenues and figuring out, what are the settings to do this and what are the settings for that, and
Yes.
how do I stream a concert live to
Definitely.
people? How does that work? So things like that are what I'm gonna keep working on this year. And then for the next few years, I think I've managed to work with some fantastic opera companies during the pandemic that I've not necessarily worked with before, and I'd like to continue forging the relationships with those companies as well, outside of the lockdown and outside of the pandemic, and then continue. It's a long list. It's a very long list. Ooh.
That's
And then also
good. That's good.
continue to just, influence and inspire. I want to see how we can get more people to be engaged with opera.
Yes.
I want to see if I can make opera something that it's there, but I know that there are certain, groups of people that feel like, nah, no, 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 opera's not for me, it's
Yeah.
not my thing.
Yeah.
And I just want to be out there to say that it's a really exciting art form, actually. If you just have to kind of have the right guidance and the right mentor and the right attitude going into it as well,
Yeah.
having an open heart and open mind as well, and someone that will just kind of take you along and realize that it doesn't take itself as an art form too seriously at
That's a
the
good
most of
point.
times.
That's a good
Yeah.
point because I think what what could you say to someone who is going to be watching this, who is thinking, I think I could sing it, but I feel a bit shy, Someone back in Jamaica, for example, who has the talent to go all the way, who could maybe even get a scholarship to come to the UK and study. What are your tips? What's your advice for them?
I would say, first and foremost, believe in yourself and be your own biggest cheerleader, because that is something that I haven't done until more recently. And I do think that being your own biggest cheerleader will get you through doors, and you have that confidence and you walk into the room
Yes,
and you walk into,
yes.
inside, you may not be feeling that.
So
But if
true.
there's a little bit of you that's going, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this, then
Yes,
I feel like you will exude that. So that's
yes,
that's the first thing. I would say that if you want to find somebody to mentor you, go on the internet, go and have a little search for opera singers. We are friendly beings. We are not scary people. um, Email a couple or email a handful. Maybe one will email back and have some
yes,
suggestions about what it is that you do. And then also just realizing that the path, or the what is considered to be the best pathway of getting into this operatic world, may not necessarily be the best pathway for you. I think that I would I think that having a grounding in a conservatoire is a very important thing. I think it's a very useful thing and a very good thing to be able to go for 3-4 years, really study, really train. There's nothing like that. It sets you up. It really, really does set you up on a path. Um, but if there's a way of being able to study
yes,
before going onto a course, or looking at a course, and kind of, now we've got the internet, now we've got people giving
yes,
lessons. I gave a pupil a lesson via from UK to Turkey the other day, which was
wow,
amazing. um,
amazing.
it's a brilliant, and it's a small world, and it's an even smaller world now.
Yes,
Email conservatoires, email singers, ask for advice, ask for consultation sessions, and see what you get back is what I would say. And just really, try and go for it, work hard. That's another point as well. It's hard, I will say that. I'm not going to say it's not hard. It's very
yes.
difficult.
I want you to explain some of the terminology you're using, the conservators. Explain what that means for me, please.
So a conservatoire is another way of saying it. We call them music colleges as well.
Okay.
So you'll hear the word conservatoire or conservatory or
Yes.
academy of music.
Yes.
So that is a very specific place, a very specific college or a university or part of a university where when you're studying for a degree, it's very much a musical degree, whether it's not so much
Yes.
theoretical based music, it's more practical music. So you go and you do 30 hours worth of violin study
Yes.
a week, and that's what a conservatory or a conservatoire or a conservatory is. And there are very, very many. I had the opportunity of singing at the one in Kingston. I cannot remember what it was called. That's terrible. Um, it's not UE. I will have to try and remember.
Uh,
Oh, the Edna Manley.
Edna Manley.
That's it.
Oh,
Yes, I had the
lovely.
pleasure of singing there in the hall there, and I actually performed a one-woman opera by Dr. Shirley Thompson about Queen Nanny of the Maroons,
Oh
which was
my goodness.
fantastic.
I would
Yeah,
love to
so
see that.
oh, it was fantastic. Hopefully, touch wood, we will get to a point in time where I'll be able to come back to Jamaica and perform that again, because that was so much fun. It was really great. And working with the dancers there and working with the choreographers there was just stunning. Really brilliant talent
Wow.
coming out of Edna Manley. So yeah, so there are places like that in Jamaica that you can go and train. Go on the internet, have a look at what the course requirements are, find a mentor. Yeah, go for it. That's what I
Wonderful.
would say.
You know, we say you're a soprano. So explain to us what that means and if there are different categories that we need to be aware of.
Yeah, so opera singers are, very many and very varied, different types, different heights and depths of sounds. You've got sopranos up there, you've got mezzo sopranos, altos, contraltos getting lower, you've got countertenors, tenors, baritones, bass baritones, and then basso profundos who are super, super low. There's a whole range of voice
Yes.
types. And then not only do you have the sort of where your voice lies in terms of how high or how low that is, then you also have the type of voice that you have. So if you have a strong, heavy voice, you might be called a dramatic soprano, for example.
Yes.
If you have a lighter voice and you're a soprano, you might be called a soubrette. I am kind of classed as a lyric coloratura soprano, which means that a lyric soprano sings long, smooth lines, and they spin a beautiful line, but they can also access really
Oh
high
my goodness.
parts of their voice, and they sing lots of runs, lots of coloratura, it's called,
Yes.
very fast runs and things like that. So there's a lot of terminology but for the very many and very varied types of voices there are out there.
So do you have to warm up your voice before you sing? You have to warm
Yes,
it up to
I
look after,
do.
to carry your voice. How do you carry it?
Well, I try, if I can, if I know I'm going to be singing a lot. So if I'm going to be doing singing lessons, for example, for a whole day, I will do gentle humming exercises. I will just make interesting sounds just to
Yes.
warm things up. When I'm teaching my pupils, I always use the same analogy. I always use Usain Bolt for it as well. I say to my pupils, do you think that Usain Bolt just gets up in the morning and runs 100 meters? And they go, no, he doesn't. I go, no, he doesn't, does he? I say, what does he do? He says he stretches. And I go, why does
Yes.
he stretch? It's because you can't pull a muscle. And I say, that's exactly why. We have to warm up our voice before we sing. So yeah, lots of humming, gentle sounds, scales, things like just to make the voice move a little bit. So
Yes.
yeah, lots of warming up in the shower as well. I like to warm up in the shower. There's lots of nice
Yes.
steam going on.
It's a good analogy to use. You say both, though. That really focuses the mind because people understand that. So it's
Oh
just it's the
yes,
same thing.
immediately.
Yes. Tell us, where can we find you on social media, on YouTube? You know, we want to follow up on and keep up to date as to what you're doing. So tell us if there are any recent performances that we could check out and where we can follow you.
Sure. Well, I performed recently in a Christmas concert with the London Symphony Orchestra, and that went on YouTube on about the
Okay.
13th of December. And I think that's going to be on YouTube for about 3 months. So if you feel like you want to have a little bit more of an extended Christmas period, then pop onto YouTube. You just have to type in a search for London Symphony Orchestra Christmas Carol Concert. You'll find that there. And then I also performed in a lovely opera for very little children based on a children's book, of quite a famous children's book. It's called We Have a Plan. And if you put that into YouTube as well and type English touring opera with that, you should find that too. That's been extended. That's been up there for a while, but because of the third lockdown, it's been extended a little bit so that people have some, things to watch. And what else is there? There's all sorts of stuff kicking around on YouTube. Some things I don't even know that were on there are on there. It's quite amazing, actually. If you just type my name into YouTube, I've done it once or twice, and I've been astounded by the things that have popped
Wow,
up.
that's amazing. I'll definitely
Yeah,
check it out. Definitely
thank
check it out.
you.
So, tell us any tips that you would have given your younger self.
Oh my,
You mentioned earlier about being your biggest cheerleader. Anything else
yes.
you looking back now you would have told your younger self?
Ooh, I would tell myself to not hide my light under a bushel, I think, is a big one.
Yeah.
Um, and to believe in myself more is what I would have done. There's a wonderful phrase that I always think of, that my mom and my dad would say to me, which is, I need to get it right. Let me see if I can get it right now. What is for you can't be unfor you. And that phrase for me is so relevant at every single stage. It's so relevant even now.
So true.
It is, because I will do things, and I will do performances or concerts, and I will find out that there were X amount of sopranos that were asked to do it before they, got to me in the list.
Yes.
And that, X amount of sopranos were either unavailable or
Yes.
whatever. But
Destiny.
that does not matter. What matters is that I got to do it, and I
That's
got to
true.
be the person
That is true.
represented, and
Yes.
not to think, oh, I'm here because this,
Yeah.
that, and the other, and just use it as an opportunity to go, hey, you had no idea you were going to get me, and here I am, and I'm going to show
Love
you what
that.
I can do, so that hopefully
Yes.
on that little list I'm a little bit higher next time.
Wow.
But at the same time, if it's meant to be yours, it's meant to be yours.
I love that. I love that mindset where you're not worried about why it came to you. The fact that it came to you meant that it was for
It's
you.
enough.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. That's lovely. That's lovely. It's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you.
Oh,
I'd
me
like to keep
too.
up and maybe do a follow-up when this is all over. And I am a proud Maroon, so I want to see the performance about Nanny of the Maroons one day. That's
Yes.
on my list of things. And I also want to come and see you in London when this is all over, to come and see you live, because I have not been that exposed to opera, because I thought it wasn't something for me. I thought you would
Ah,
understand the language that you use, and now it's opened my mind. So you're already working,
hey,
and
wonderful.
I'm sure that when this is shared across Jamaica, people want to see you. You're on Twitter and Instagram or anything like that?
I am the worst person for social media. At the start of the pandemic, I decided I was going to take a big old break from it, just because I think that social media at the moment there's a lot of comparison, and I
Yes.
needed to step away from that a little bit. However, I am on Twitter, so and I'm sure I will be making a return to it at some point. My Twitter handle is at Abigail Kelly Sop, so you can have a little look on there and see the things that I have done a while ago. Not
Yes.
so much the things that I've been currently doing, but I'm sure I'll get back onto it.
Oh, lovely, lovely. You're right. Social media, they say comparison is the thief of joy. So sometimes it's better because people are presenting a certain image of what their life is like. And we need to really be focused on our journey. And as they say,
Exactly.
what is for us? I agree. No, I thank you very much for taking the time out to come and speak to us in Good News Jamaica. We're going to be sharing this across all our platforms, and I am 100% sure we're going to be inspiring other people to follow in your footsteps. So
Wonderful.
until next time, you've been listening to Nicole McIntosh for Good News Jamaica. It's one of our mobile reasonings where we're talking to people who have a Jamaican connection, We're celebrating diversity, celebrating positivity at a time when the world needs it, to be honest. We need to be celebrating goodness and we need to be thinking about the future. So, as we are in the lockdown, we're in the pandemic, we think of the future. And Abigail Kelly is someone that you need to be watching and following and supporting as well. Let's support her on her drive to get more diversity in opera. So if you're out there and you're thinking that you know someone who might be able to do this, let them watch this video. Let them read the article. It will inspire them. Thank you very much.
Thank you for checking us out on Good News Jamaica TV for content that informs, inspires, and transforms. Please like, share, leave a comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more positive Jamaica content. Walk good,